Welcome to the Ian Cameron Sports Report for Wednesday, October 14th, our second show here on the Pub Sports Radio YouTube channel. It's good to be with you again as we look back on Tuesday's action and preview three games on the show today. We're going to give you a betting preview of both playoff games, ALCS and NLCS, and we're going to look ahead to a really good matchup tonight. I'm not kidding. People say, oh, it's only the Sun Belt. This is a damn good football game on paper tonight. Coastal Carolina, UL Lafayette. We'll break that game down as well on this Wednesday edition of the Ian Cameron Sports Report. Let's look back on Tuesday night's action, and the Buffalo Bills fall from the ranks of the undefeated. 4-0 going into last night, handed their first loss of the season by the Tennessee Titans, 42-16. A game that was probably a little bit closer than the final score would indicate, but nevertheless, Tennessee fully deserving of the victory. Obviously, easy point spread cover for them as well as 3.5-point underdogs in the game, winning outright. The game ends up going over the total thanks to some late shenanigans, a fumble return by the Bills. Now, the Bills might have gone down the field and scored a touchdown to put the game over the total anyway, but that fumble return pretty much put it in a spot where Tennessee, already in the red zone, had a chance to get the touchdown. They did. And that ended up getting the game over the total. Thankfully for me, it avoided an 0-2 with the very small plays I had on that game. As I mentioned yesterday, I was on the Bills and the over small plays. We split those going 1-1. The props did well, though. I on Twitter at Bobano, I had A.J. Brown over receptions. I had A.J. Brown over receiving yards. We really saw what kind of impact it was for the Buffalo Bills not having their shutdown corner, Tre'Davious White, available for them in that game last night. A late scratch due to injury. And boy, Josh Norman, he got absolutely picked on by A.J. Brown and Ryan Tannehill in the passing game. They targeted him, and A.J. Brown got the better of that matchup with Josh Norman at the cornerback position last night throughout the game. And obviously having him back was huge, especially when you consider Corey Davis and Adam Humphries were not playing last night for the Titans because of their COVID-19 situation. But a really impressive game for Ryan Tannehill. And it's been now about a full year to the day since Ryan Tannehill took over as the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans after Marcus Mariota got benched. And his comeback story and his play for the Titans over this last 12 months, this calendar year, it's been unbelievable, the resurgence. And if you're a Miami Dolphins fan, you're probably thinking, we thought this guy was going to be our franchise quarterback. It was nothing short of a disaster for him in Miami, with injuries, and I think with not a whole lot of offensive talent around him, bad offensive line play in front of him, bad coaching, I think was a big part of it as well with the Miami Dolphins. It just didn't work. Flat out did not work for Ryan Tannehill with the Miami Dolphins. And if you're Miami and you're here and seeing Ryan Tannehill play so well on a weekly basis, it seems right now for this Titans team, you've got to be more than a little bit frustrated, no question. Even though you do have high expectations with what Tua Tagovailoa might be able to bring you in the years to come, assuming he can stay healthy. But knowing you had Ryan Tannehill, and knowing you invested so much resources and time and effort and money in him, only for it to not work out, only for you to have to part ways with him, and now to see him playing the way he is with the Titans, it's got to be frustrating. I know it's frustrating because I know a couple Dolphins fans, even in my area here in Canada, in Hamilton, just outside of Hamilton. I know a few people that are Dolphins fans, and it makes them sick watching Ryan Tannehill just absolutely have an outstanding run the last year or so with the Titans. So you kept it up last night. And if you're Buffalo now, you got to start getting concerned about their defense. Now, we saw spotty defense against Miami. Okay, no big deal. Maybe just one game. We saw a bad second half against the LA Rams on defense. Okay, good Rams offense, though. Goff and that offense and a good play caller in McVay. Not the end of the world. But the Raiders again up inconsistent on defense. Yeah, Derek Carr and the Raiders, but to get completely picked apart from start to finish, and that's essentially what happened to Buffalo's defense. The last few games, Las Vegas, the Rams, and Miami, you could say the defense was inconsistent in portions of the game, but in those three games, the Buffalo Bills defense at least had moments where they were dominant and they got teams off the field on third down, and they got 3-and-out stops, and they got the ball back for their offense. Not last night. It seemed every time they had a chance to get Tennessee off the field, they got the Titans offense to third down, in a lot of cases, 3rd and long, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10. And there's Ryan Tannehill and the Titans coming up with a play to get the first down and extend the drive and keep the Bills defense on the field. That was alarming last night. Now, I know you didn't have Matt Milano at linebacker. I know you didn't have Trey White at cornerback, which I mentioned just now a moment ago. Such a big loss for them last night. But that defense has issues. They got to sort it out. Sean McDermott's got to sort it out. A defensive coordinator, Leslie Frazier's got to sort it out. They got to fix that, because this is not the Bills defense that we saw last year. This has not been the Bills defense that we saw 2 years ago. And thank goodness that Josh Allen and the offense have absolutely improved significantly this season, or else, this may not be a 4-1 team right now. And in terms of fixing the defense, it's going to have to happen now, and it's going to have to happen fast, because they've got an angry, ornery Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, fresh off their first loss of the season against the Raiders on Sunday. They've got the Chiefs coming into Buffalo, and probably in not the greatest of moods on Monday for that big AFC showdown game. So whatever is ailing Buffalo on the defensive side of the football, boy, they've got 5 days to try to correct it against easily the best offense and quarterback they've faced this season. So we'll see if the Bills can do that. But credit to Tennessee. They're 4-0. I was concerned a little. Tennessee hadn't beaten a good team. They finally did, though, last night, beating the Buffalo Bills. They remain undefeated, 4-0. And as I mentioned, Titans get the money, and the game ends up going over the total. Major League Baseball last night. LA Dodgers, typical LA Dodgers. I mean, when you think about the team the last couple of years in the playoffs, and they look like the kind of team that when they're up big in a game, or they're trailing by like several runs in a game, they're relaxed. The game comes to them naturally, and that's when they play their best. It's either when they're up big or they're down big. And we saw that last night. I mean, obviously it was a rough Tony Gonsolin was actually good early. Then Freddie Freeman cracked him for a 2-run home run. They started getting his pitch count up. He got in some trouble the next inning. Dave Roberts went to the bullpen. Pedro Baez and company came in, and that's when the Braves finally broke the game open, went up 5-0. They added a couple runs later in the game, ended up going up 7-0 in that game later on. It was just one of those cases where the Dodgers really couldn't stop the bleeding at any point in that game last night against the Atlanta Braves. So they went up 7-0. And you're thinking, and up to that point, the Dodgers bats in this series, they'd scored 1 run going into, I believe, what was it, the 6th or 7th inning when Seager hit the 3-run home run. I think it was the 6th inning when he hit that. But prior to that, they had scored 1 run in the whole series, game and a half. And they were down 7-0 at the time. And then all of a sudden, when they're trailing 7-0, the Dodgers all of a sudden figure it out at the plate. Corey Seager, 3-run home run to make it 7-3. They end up Atlanta gets a solo home run later and make it 8-3. And then in the 9th inning, you think, all right, that's going to lose this game for sure. Here come the Dodgers bats again. A Dodgers lineup that had done nothing up until the 6th. Up in this whole series, they had done nothing at the plate until the 6th inning last night. And then in the 9th inning, bam, base hit, bam, 2-run home run for Max Muncy. Double into the corner for Cody Bellinger. All of a sudden, we got an 8-7 game. The tying run is 90 feet away. Are you kidding me? The Dodgers are going to pull this off. They're going to come all the way back from 7-0 down, and they're going to tie this game maybe 8-8, maybe even go ahead and win. And you think, wow, maybe the Dodgers, have that character, that dig down mentality in them. But then they get all these garbage runs. But they finally get within 1, and they're going to just need 1 more hit to tie the game, and it's back to the same old Dodgers. Pressure ratchets up. Now you need the hit because it's 2 out, runner on third. A base hit is all is what it's going to take to tie the game. Now's the time you need the hit. Forget Seager's 3-run shot when they're down 7-0. Forget Muncy's home run that made it 6. Forget what Bellinger did. Now is when you need the hit. 8-7, runner on third, 2 out. But again, when you're down 7-0 and you're at the plate, it's free and easy. It's relaxed. You don't feel that pressure. 8-7, trying to avoid a 2-0 series deficit, tying run 90 feet away. You do feel the pressure. And what happens when you feel that pressure? And the Dodgers have been brutal now for multiple seasons in these pressure situations. And that's why they've fallen short of their goal of winning a World Series the last couple of years. They ground out. Typical Dodgers. The ultimate tease, thinking, down 7-0. They get everybody's hopes up, and then they let them down all over again. And they end up falling short of what would have been a miraculous comeback. 8-7, the Braves hang on. The game flies over the total with ease. The total was 8.5 in that game yesterday. And Atlanta, once again, at a plus price, is able to cash a ticket for their backers and go up 2-0 in this series. I know there's going to be people out there, because I've seen it on Twitter already today, that think Dodgers momentum going into today because they got 7 runs, they got their lineup going. Yeah, but what did you do offensively when the game was close, when the game was there for the taking? You did nothing for 5 innings, and then you had a chance in the 9th inning, 2-out runner on third to tie the game or hit a 2-run home run to take the lead, and once again you got shut down. To me, that's what matters. Those 7 runs are going to make the score look nice, that we were competitive. It's going to make it look like, wow, we got some offense going. Hurrah. But I'm talking about the pressure at bats, the pressure ABs, when you have to make something happen. The Dodgers didn't make it happen last night. 7, that's almost like, just making it look nice for the graphic, for the marquee. 8-7 as opposed to maybe losing 8-3 or 7-0. And again, all those runs were with the pressure off because they were trailing big in the game. The moment came to have a pressure come through in the clutch moment in that 9th inning last night, and once again, we didn't see it from the Dodgers. What about all those opportunities when it was 0-0, in game 2? What about when that game was close up until the 9th inning of game 1, when it was 1-1, and you had several chances maybe to get that big hit to take the lead and maybe make game 1 a different story in terms of the final win result? You didn't do it. And again, I'm the in the clutch, in the pressure moments ability of this Dodgers lineup, which is a great lineup. I don't want to take away from what they've done during the regular season and what they did against Milwaukee and against San Diego. But again, now you're in the NLCS. People think it's World Series or bust for this team. They know it. Dave Roberts knows it. Every player in that Dodgers clubhouse knows it. Cody Bellinger knows it. You brought in Mookie Betts to put you over the top this season. You've got to be better in pressure spots. Big at bats, 2 outs, runners in scoring position, all of in close games, all of that stuff. Dodgers have to be better, period. Or they're not winning this series, and they're certainly not winning the World Series unless that changes. So that's the thing. I mean, I hear Dodgers fans saying, we got the momentum. We've got the momentum. All of your runs came with no pressure on your back. None. 0. No pressure on your shoulders. None. 0. That's when you scored all your little garbage runs last night. But again, once that got to 8-7, runner on third, 2 out, I don't care that you scored 7 runs. Give me a hit there. Give me a hit right there to tie the game. Give me something there in the pressure spot, in the pressure at bat. I got nothing. That's what I got from the Dodgers last night. Zip in pressure at bats. And that's got to change as far as I'm concerned. So we'll talk about game 3 of that series in just a bit. So Braves and over, they cash in that game. Rays and Astros. Rays pushing the Astros to the brink. 3-0 in the series now with a 5-2 victory over the Astros in game 3 of the ALCS last night. Ryan Yarbrough, solid. He ran into some trouble. He pitched his way out of jams a little bit. And again, the Rays bullpen, what can you say? And I said it yesterday on the Ian Cameron Sports Report show, the Tuesday show. I said, the Astros have to find ways to get a big lead. Not just a lead, a big lead. And again, they couldn't get a big lead yesterday. 1-0. Yeah, you know what? You don't want to be up against this Rays shut you down bullpen in a close game. because eventually the Rays are going to push a run across or a run or two across. Sure enough, they did that in the 6th inning against Enoli Paredes and the Astro pen in that inning. That's when they got their 5 runs to go up 5-1. Houston got a home run the next inning, 5-2, but that was all she wrote. Diego Castillo, a little bit wobbly in the 9th inning, a couple of walks, but he got out of it and got the outs when he needed to, which is exactly what Tampa's been getting from their bullpen throughout these playoffs. It's been just incredible how good their relief corps has been, and it was again last night. And now all of a sudden the Rays will be looking to sweep the Houston Astros tonight in Game 4 of the ALCS. So we'll break that down in just a second. All right, so that's what happened yesterday. And of course, Rays, and the game stays under the total. That's now 3 straight unders in the ALCS. We'll preview that game a little bit later. I do think in terms of the total of Game 4 tonight, and we'll get to this in a second, I think we might be in for a different story tonight when it comes to runs being scored with the Rays and Astros. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's go now to our preview of tonight's action. We're going to talk about both baseball games first. We're going to start with the early game, the first game of the doubleheader in playoff action tonight. Game 3, NLCS, Atlanta Braves, LA Dodgers. We've got the LA Dodgers, a -180 favorite here in Game 3. The total 9.5, pretty much across the board in this game. Julio Urias on the mound for the LA Dodgers. Kyle Wright on the mound for the Braves. Julio Urias has been really, really good for sure in these playoffs. No question. I mean, during the season, inconsistent, but down the stretch into the playoffs, he's been good. He's had 8 innings of work here in the postseason, 1 unearned run allowed on 4 hits and 11 strikeouts. He's been really good for the LA Dodgers, but he's a lefty. Atlanta on paper should match up pretty well against them. Their OPS and their numbers against lefties have been pretty solid this year. And the one thing about Urias that concerns me is he's been good in the postseason. He is not a guy that is going to go 6, 7, 8 innings. He's not. He'll be lucky if he goes 5 innings, to be honest with you tonight. And the one thing Atlanta has been very good at in this series in the first 2 games against Buehler in the first game and last night against Gonsolin is driving up the pitch counts of the Dodgers starters. They've been very good. They've been willing to take pitches, and that's a lost art in Major League Baseball. I'm seeing guys yesterday swinging out of their shoes. 2 guys on base, first pitch in the at-bat, swinging out of their shoes in a lazy fly ball. Can you take a pitch every now and then, for crying out loud? Holy goodness. What, could you at least see what the opposing pitcher is going to offer you here? Maybe devise a little bit of a plan at the plate instead of just swinging at the first pitch we see. Holy mackerel! Players are getting worse with that kind of stuff, if you ask me. But nevertheless, that's what has made the Braves, I think, very good in this playoffs, is their ability to take pitches, which has been impressive. And that's why I'm concerned that even if Urias pitches well, is he going to stay in the game very long? I don't know. And that Dodgers bullpen, middle relief, the closer situation, there's not much confidence in it. Whether it's Jansen, whether it's Joe Kelly. I mean, they've got concerns and question marks to answer there. Where do they turn to? The middle relief was used quite a bit last night. So I do think, even if Urias pitches well, the Braves might be able to hit this Dodgers bullpen, which all of a sudden looks pretty vulnerable here in this series. If the Dodgers lineup is going to do something big, like have a big night and hang a crooked number on somebody, you would think this has to be the game, because when you compare Kyle Wright to Max Fried and Ian Anderson, Kyle Wright's the weakest of the 3. He's the weakest link, which is, of course, now back on television on NBC, the weakest link. He is. Now, he was good against Miami. I will say one positive about Kyle Wright. The postseason start he made against the Marlins was excellent. But that's a Miami lineup that he hasn't faced a boatload of potent upper echelon lineups this year in his previous starts. And when he has, he's struggled. He had a over 5 ERA during the season. And again, we know on the Dodgers, in theory, should be able to hit him, and they've hit righties well all season. This should be a night where the Dodgers, in theory, should be able to have a great night at the plate, 1 through 9, collectively. We'll see if it happens here. And the Braves bullpen, for as good as they've been in these playoffs, they finally showed some issues last night. Let's put it that way. They finally had some issues. They finally had some struggles. And that Atlanta bullpen now, you got to worry about them a little bit because, again, their numbers in the first two series, they came against the Miami Marlins and the Miami Marlins and the Cincinnati Reds. You got a better lineup here in this series. So I do like this game over the total, 9.5. It's a high number, but you've got two starters that I don't trust, especially to pitch deep, and two vulnerable bullpens and two of the best lineups in the National League, if not all of Major League Baseball this season. So over the total, I like that, 9.5 in this game. Next up, we've got Tampa Bay, Houston, Game 4, ALCS. Can the Rays actually sweep the Astros? We'll find out tonight. Tampa Bay, minus 140 favorites, Houston plus 120, the total 8 in this game. Tyler Glasnow getting the start for the Rays. He's given them what they've wanted so far here in the playoffs. He's been solid here for the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, he did struggle a bit in last year when he faced the Astros. He definitely struggled a little bit, and they've seen him before. That's probably going to help the Astros hitters a little bit, assuming we can finally get some good at-bats from them, especially with runners in scoring position, where this team just continues to struggle throughout the series. They've been awful with getting those clutch at-bats with runners in scoring position throughout this series. But Glasnow has been excellent. How about the fact that he's had 20 strikeouts in 13.1 innings pitched here in the postseason? So, I'm not big on MLB props. I bet more props with hockey and football and basketball. But Tyler Glasnow over his strikeout prop, that definitely makes sense to me. He has been a K machine here in the playoffs. That's definitely one MLB prop that interests me here in this game tonight. Zach Greinke, I have no confidence in him whatsoever. He was not good in his start against Oakland. 4 runs in 4.2 innings, gave up a pair of home runs. That's not good against a Tampa Bay team that has been absolutely feasting with the long ball here in the playoffs. He didn't pitch well down the stretch of the regular season. It really hasn't gotten all that much better for him here in the playoffs. He's not an innings eater. That Astros bullpen, which shut down Minnesota and Oakland, hasn't been as reliable here against this Rays team. And as good as the Tampa Bay bullpen is, and this is why I like the over here, over 8 minus 115. This is now the 4th game in 4 days, and a lot of the high-leverage key relievers that Kevin Cash relies on, they've worked multiple days so far in this series, and at some point fatigue is going to set in. When you've had no days off, you've had these pressure innings to pitch, high-stress situations and innings pitched by these Rays relievers, there's going to be a game where that bullpen finally looks human, and it could be today. And you would expect it maybe to be today because the Astros, if they're finally going to show a little bit of patience and bring you better at bats, it's going to be today with their season on the line, knowing it's win or go home. So I do like the game over the total. As far as the side goes, I'm not laying a price with in terms of the side for both of the games today. I am not laying a price, and I have no interest laying a price, especially minus 180 with the Dodgers. So it's Atlanta or pass for me. I'm going to pass probably, but if I had to bet something, I would only look at the Braves at the big plus price. And from the Tampa Bay-Houston game, from a side perspective, I'd only look to Tampa Bay, minus 140. I'm not stepping in front of this Rays momentum right now. Are you kidding me? And the bullpen that has completely been lights out so far in these playoffs, and a Houston team that hasn't been hitting with runners in scoring position or runners on base at all. No, and with Greinke on the mound, and I have no confidence in Greinke at all right now. So, yeah, from a side perspective, it would be Atlanta or pass and Tampa Bay or pass for me in the ALCS and NLCS games taking place tonight. All right, let's go to college football. We have a good one tonight. I know people say, oh, it's only the Sun Belt. It's only the Sun Belt. If you like college football and you like good teams, even if they're from a non-Power 5 conference, you're going to be into this game. We have 2 3-0 teams. We've got the favorites to win the Sun Belt, the UL Lafayette Ragin' Cajuns, taking on the kind of surprising 3-0 Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. UL Lafayette, 7.5, 8-point favorites, 58.5 the total in this game. Let's start with UL Lafayette because this game has been rescheduled to tonight because of various issues, weather issues, COVID-19 issues with UL Lafayette that have really hindered their roster significantly. Cluster absences at running back on the defensive side of the football for the UL Lafayette Ragin' Cajuns the last couple of games. Their head coach, Billy Napier, says the team is getting much healthier. They should have a lot more starters and bodies available for them tonight going into this big game against Coastal Carolina. And it's a really, really good football team. They're definitely one of the better non-Power 5 teams in the country this season, UL Lafayette. They have a veteran senior quarterback in Levi Lewis. They've got a dual running back tandem, Elijah Mitchell and Trey Regis. Mitchell missed the last game with COVID issues. They expect him back tonight. It's a great running back, a good offense group. It's a great offensive line. It's a good defense. It's an excellent secondary. That's the best part of this UL Lafayette defense is their pass defense. It's a really good team. And last year when they played Coastal Carolina, they didn't just beat Coastal Carolina. They obliterated them 41-7, non-competitive. It was just all UL Lafayette. They dominated that game. Here is the thing, though, you have to keep in mind about that game. It's going to look, wow, 41-7, and now all of a sudden here a year later, they're only laying 7.5 and 8. That was a really, really bad spot for Coastal Carolina. They had beaten Troy in one of these thrilling back and forth games, 36-35, and then they had to play UL Lafayette on a short week, one of those weeknight games. And the players of Coastal Carolina that were on last year's team talking about that blowout loss to Lafayette said in the lead up to tonight's game, we were flat that day. We had beaten Troy in a thrilling game, and we had to get ourselves recalibrated to play Lafayette on a short week, and we were flat. We just weren't ready to go. I think they're going to be ready tonight. And I think Coastal Carolina from the beginning of the season, they've been bet on. They've been an undervalued commodity here in the betting markets. I like what I see from this team. I like the freshman quarterback, Grayson McCall. Now, this is probably one of the bigger games he's played on the road against the team picked to win this conference this season. Let's see how he handles it, but he looks like he's been able to handle everything so far. He's completing 66.8% of his passes, 9 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's been in complete control of this offense. CJ Marable, the running back, has been absolutely outstanding for them as well, running the football. They've got a great offensive line with a lot of experience on it, and their offense has been really good. And the one issue with Coastal last year, they didn't have a quarterback that could throw the football efficiently. They had erratic quarterback play last year. It was a one-dimensional offense for the Chanticleers. Run the football, and they didn't get as much as they hoped for out of the passing game. They've got a passing attack now. Grayson McCall's been really good throwing the football for Coastal Carolina this year. They've got now balance in their offense. I think that's going to set them up to have a better chance for success against a very good UL Lafayette defense tonight. And I like the coaching of Jamie Chadwell. He's done a really good job. He's a good, bright young coach in the FBS college football ranks. Took over from Joe Moglia, the legendary coach of Coastal Carolina, a couple of years ago because he had to step down for health reasons. And Jamie Chadwell has done, I think, a fantastic job with this group. Their defense is extremely stout up front. They're loaded with juniors and seniors on the defensive line. They've got a really good linebacking core. The secondary sometimes is susceptible. That's always tricky, but Lafayette's more of a run-pass balance type of team. They throw the ball, and Levi Lewis is capable, but they rely on the run game a lot. And I think the run game, Coastal Carolina has at least a chance here, I think, to hold that Mitchell-Regis running back tandem in check just a little bit. It's a really fascinating game, but here's what I'm thinking in this game. Coastal Carolina, look, this is going to be a challenge. And last year, of course, Lafayette just 41-7. It looked like they were not even in the same league as Lafayette. And that's definitely a concern here if you're going to endorse Coastal Carolina, that maybe they just don't match up well with Lafayette. But they've been an undervalued commodity all season. They have been outstanding in the underdog role. They're 6-1 ATS their last 7 tries as an underdog. We know what they did against Kansas in week 1. They won outright as a dog and dominated that game. How about what they did against Arkansas State, which has been one of the best teams in the Sun Belt the last few years? They not only beat Arkansas State outright as underdogs, they crushed them 52-23. It was non-competitive. They turned that game into a blowout, Coastal Carolina. Again, they've covered 6 of their last 7 games as an underdog. And UL Lafayette, since beating Iowa State, and that's the win that obviously has all the attention on Lafayette. They beat Iowa State on the road in Ames, Iowa, as underdogs. They feasted on a lot of turnovers, though, in that game. They had a kick return touchdown. They deserved to win the game, and their defense against Brock Purdy and the Cyclones that day was outstanding. But now they're laying points, and laying points against Georgia Southern and Georgia State in their first two Sun Belt games this year. They barely won the game straight up, and they failed to cover both, going 0-2 ATS against Georgia Southern and Georgia State in their last two games, winning them barely by less than a touchdown. They haven't played since September 26th because of all the postponements. They've had the players coming off COVID-19 issues. You're worried about cohesion. You're worried about chemistry a little bit for Lafayette. At least I am worried about that for them going into this game tonight. And again, now going back to last year, UL Lafayette's 0-4 ATS, their last four games as a favorite. Laying points has not been, a great value bet with this UL Lafayette team. I've been on Coastal Carolina twice already this year. And I had a 1-unit top play on my college football subscriber card with Coastal Carolina when they beat Kansas and when they beat Arkansas State outright as an underdog. And yes, I've got concerns. This Lafayette, king of the conference, or the team expected to win the conference, picked to win the conference by a lot of people, on the road in Lafayette, Louisiana, at Cajun Field. Are you ready to handle this moment if you're Coastal Carolina? Because I don't know if they envision challenging and contending for the Sun Belt. They now feel they can because they've been that impressive on both sides of the football. Are they ready for this kind of big matchup? I think they are. If I'm betting this game, it's the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers plus the points for me. I'm a believer in this team, and I think they can give UL Lafayette a game here tonight. As far as the total is concerned, 58.5, 59. Coastal Carolina doesn't play fast, but they're efficient. They've been able to get first downs, win the time of possession battle most weeks, and they're going to be balanced, run and pass. Lafayette, they do play quicker than Coastal Carolina, but again, they're run and pass, and I think both of these defenses are capable. I think Coastal Carolina's defense, which was not good last year, it's why they lost so many close games. They couldn't get stops. Their offense was capable, but their defense was lacking. Their defense looks so much improved this year, Coastal Carolina. Lafayette's got arguably the best defense, certainly one of the best defenses in the Sun Belt Conference. So it's a real tough game from a totals perspective. You're still going to need a high degree of offensive efficiency to get this game over the total. It's the high 50s. And, UL Lafayette's a moderate-paced offense. Coastal Carolina is probably a below-average offense in terms of pace and tempo. So, and because this is such a big game and Coastal Carolina looking to prove their worth against, the team picked to win this conference, and both defenses maybe being a little bit underrated, I would lean under. But just like with college and NFL, I'm not in a rush to bet any unders right now in either. You're seeing overs a lot in college football the last couple of weeks. Same with the NFL. I'm in no hurry to bet unders right now, but this game could be one that slides under the total. And to me, I wouldn't want the over now at this number, 58.5, 59. I'd lean under, but I don't feel strongly about it. But this is a really good football game to begin the week in college football. UL Lafayette and a rapidly improving Coastal Carolina team. We'll see how it unfolds tonight on this Wednesday night ESPN National TV Sunbelt matchup. All right, that'll wrap up this edition of the Ian Cameron Sports Report for Wednesday, October 14th. Thank you again for watching. If you're interested in subscription service with me, Ian Cameron Capping, send an email to bobano350@gmail.com, and I will get you on board with monthly service, which is just $75 a month. If you're interested, again, email bobano350@gmail.com. That'll wrap up today's show. Thanks again for watching. Tomorrow, I'm on the Pub Sports Radio YouTube channel twice. I've got the daily Ian Cameron Sports Report show, and I've also got the live Ian Cameron Football Frenzy, Thursday, 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. I'll break down every game on the NFL Week 6 card and throw in a couple college football games as well. The Ian Cameron Football Frenzy tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern on Thursday, right here on the Pub Sports Radio YouTube channel. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. It's good to be back Monday to Friday here with the Ian Cameron Sports Report on the Pub Sports Radio YouTube channel. Have a great Wednesday night. Good luck with all of your wagers, and I'll see you again tomorrow on Thursday for another edition of the Ian Cameron Sports Report.